what do you think about the African opportunity? Why should people pay attention to Africa?
People are paying attention, and we are not paying attention that people are paying attention. Why are so many people always talking about Africa, coming to Africa, but then Africa is being projected negatively a lot of times? The potential here, human capital, innovation. I would not be the type of entrepreneur I am if I wasn't living in Nigeria, because you catch the bug, you feel motivated.
You're someone that you typically call a reverse jackpot person. You basically grew up in the US and then you decided to come back.
I had a love for Africa. What we were shown, that's not the reality.
And how did that experience change your life?
New perspective. So I felt that I have nothing to my name, why not just take the leap?
Are you encouraging people to jackpot, considering you came back? I once saw a comment that the person asked, why is it that no one on the podcast has been able to answer this question? Why do you think we haven't been able to export global startups from Africa?
When we say Africa to the world, do we really mean it? The world is operating in a certain way. What I'm noticing is, from the African lens, we're not understanding here what it takes to scale up to a global level.
How can African startups better position for those?
The biggest bottleneck, I would say, is
All right, you're welcome to this episode of Venture Valley, where we are driving conversations around the intersection of investments, impact, and the various opportunities that are available for startups on a global scale. And to explore this topic today, I have the great privilege of speaking with a legal practitioner who has played both in the West and in the global South, helping development work, startup ecosystem players, and helping also in making the relevant impact that we need within our ecosystem and within, like I will say, this valley. And she's someone that I've checked out. I checked out her profile on LinkedIn, and I really found it quite interesting, And she's been doing a whole lot of work, but her work in Immigration Pro is actually a very strategic work that I feel will be relevant for the people that consume content on this channel. Now, if you're new to this channel, my encouragement to you will be to like, share, subscribe, and ensure that you comment also so that our channel gets better views. The way it works is quite simple. The more views we have, the more comments we have, the more engagements we have, the more we are able to bring you more quality guests, more quality people on the show. Our promise to you is that if you continue to support us and you continue to help us share, like, comment, we will continue to give you valuable content. And also, feel free to also give us suggestions of what you want us to talk about on this particular podcast, and also guests that you think we should bring on the show. Thank you very much for supporting us, and I look forward to you joining me in this episode. My guest today is Crystal Ikani Musa. Crystal, nice to have you on the podcast today. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. Thank you so much for having me.
I mean, you were quite interesting. I came across your profile on LinkedIn, and I was really quite intrigued because I was looking at you have like various hats on.
Yes.
Right. But currently, if someone is seeing you, how do you define yourself these days? As do you call yourself a lawyer? Do you call yourself? How do you define yourself?
So I always tell people that I have a portfolio career. So I hold dual leadership roles. I'm a managing partner at my law firm, Visa Immigration Pro, but I'm also a partner at a global consulting firm called Expectation State. So that's how I introduce myself to people. When you meet someone, they introduce themselves, and then you understand, which hat you'll lean into more. So that's how I deal with those type of situations.
So I think you're someone that you typically call a reverse jackpot person. I'm sure you know what that means, right?
Of course.
So that means, you basically grew up in the US.
Yes.
And then you decided to come back.
Yes.
Here over 12 years ago.
Yes.
What motivated that? Was it like God appeared to you in the night?
So
I mean, because everyone is running away. So
yes.
why do you choose to come here?
So I always tell people that I'm not a returnee because I never returned. I was never here, So I came to Nigeria 12 years ago. I was born and raised in the United States, Wisconsin of all places. That's where my parents settled down. So I did all my schooling there. Then I went out to law school in Washington, D.C., and I loved it there. But I knew when it was time to take the bar and settle down, I would want to make the Atlanta area in Georgia my home. But I also knew that I wanted an international career. I wanted to practice law in a non-conventional way. And I had a love for Africa. So I know you were joking and you said, did God appear to me? But yes, he did. I was visiting Nigeria one summer with my parents, and I came across a book that I never read. It was called Good Morning, Holy Spirit. And it really introduced the Holy Spirit to me. And that summer, I just had like an encounter, and I heard God tell me that you're going to move to Nigeria. I was still in university then. So I just held on to it. I accepted it because I just always had a love for the African continent, always had a love for Nigeria. The feeling that you get landing on this soil, you don't get that in places like America. I was there. I was still in university. I hadn't entered law school, but I accepted that, I love being on the continent, and the feeling that I get when I landed in Nigeria, I never get that feeling over there in the US in the West. So I knew I would start working towards it. I did not tell my parents. I just held it in. And when I got to law school, I had a mentor who told me if I want a career that was international in international development, I should get experience on the ground in another country abroad. And so, of course, I wanted to start in Nigeria, my home country. And that's how I came here one summer to test it out. Had an internship in a law firm here in Abuja. And that was the best summer of my life. That's what I always tell people.
Really?
Yes.
And how did that experience change your life?
It gave me new perspective. I see Africa as a budding place. What we were shown, that's not the reality, and I always knew that.
I mean, but you have African, Nigerian heritage,
yes,
right?
Yes, parents. I'm full Nigerian. Both of my parents are. But being here, I saw the potential and the opportunities. And being a young professional, then I knew that if I came early enough, I can make the type of impact that I want. So I felt that I have nothing to my name. Why not just take the leap? The only thing I had to my name then when I left was a car, and I just left that with my sister, and I just packed my bags and I left. So yeah, that's why I came.
Has the promise you sought 12 years ago, how has it been like so far? How have you seen? What do you think about the African opportunity? Are you finding it's interesting? Why should people pay attention to Africa?
Well, people are paying attention, and we are not paying attention that people are paying attention. I've always noticed why and wondered why are so many people always talking about Africa, coming to Africa, but then Africa is being projected negatively a lot of times. And so I always told myself, if there's gold here that they're trying to find before me, I'm going to come find it myself. And I feel like I have, because the potential here, when it comes to human capital, when it comes to innovation, the entrepreneurship community and environment here, I would not be the type of entrepreneur I am if I wasn't living in Nigeria, because you catch the bug and then you feel motivated. Everyone in Nigeria is a CEO, I would say. You meet someone, they're a CEO of something. Everyone has their side hustle, their main hustle, and it's just a part of the life that is here. It's a part of Africa as well. And so that's what really motivated me to be, who I am today and end up having a portfolio career.
Yeah, I mean, let's unpack the portfolio career a bit. Like, I understand that the work you do at VIP is quite about immigration pro. Are you encouraging people to japa, considering you came back?
Yeah, so Visa Immigration Pro is my legal practice. we do offer immigration and business law services. So it's combined. So with my immigration services that I offer, yes, I do the standard immigration services, help you with all of your applications. No, I'm not encouraging JAPA, but I'm encouraging people, if you do want to immigrate or if you do want to visit the United States, let's do it the legal way, and I can help you with my expertise. So I do not encourage it, to be honest. I have a lot of clients that come to me and they tell me like, oh, I want to JAPA, help me find a way. And I don't take them serious, because if you really wanted to, you would have done some research, honestly. And then I always ask them about their life. What are you currently doing? What are your reasons why you want to? And I try to also advise them. JAPA is not the solution for everybody, because you definitely can go there and suffer more than you are in Nigeria. So when it comes to immigration, it's more so for me about being tactical, helping those who do want to legally get there.
Legally, yeah.
But then combining that with the business aspect has been a special niche for the practice. So with our business law services, I specifically work with a lot of foreign entrepreneurs. So not just in Africa, got some in India, some in Asia, who want to either invest in the United States or they want to expand their businesses into the United States. And that led me into the startup world, where I'm helping startups with finding ways where they can get more US investors, and explaining to them what that takes legally for you to be able to do that, because the US is an entirely different ball game. And combining that with immigration, they're able to also use their businesses to get to the United States, to work in their businesses, expand their businesses, and do so many other things.
I mean, there's a question that any listener of this podcast would expect that I ask you in this episode.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I once saw a comment that a person asked, why is it that no one on the podcast has been able to answer this question? So I'm going to take a jab at you.
Okay.
To see your own answer to this question. It's not that hard.
Okay, let's see.
So typically I ask people, why do you think we haven't been able to export global startups from Africa? In terms of a globally relevant startup that, kind of like, I don't know if you've seen this movie called The Playlist.
No.
It's a series on Netflix about Spotify, how they started Spotify.
Oh, okay.
Spotify is not American. It's what's the name? Swedish.
Yeah.
And even Bolt is not necessarily, but they've been able to build that global startup, right? I mean, the closest we've had from Nigeria is Paystack, but I don't know if Paystack is in the US. But I think the closest I can call is even Move.
Okay.
Yeah, Move. What Innie did with Move.
Yeah.
So, but besides that, I'm not really seeing so much of that happening. What do you think is the greatest bottleneck for us to actually, is it that we don't have aligning problems, so we are not necessarily seeing through their lens? There have been different thoughts that have been shared. Some people just say, forget about that, build for Africa, So what are you finding from your experience with startups?
So I always tell people, when we say Africa to the world, do we really mean it? Because the world is operating in a certain way. They have a certain level of risk tolerance, and most of the type of capital that you need to scale up is going to come from the West and from a country like the United States that really invests in startups. The biggest bottleneck, I would say, is risk. Not structuring your business in a way where these investors feel confident enough to invest in you, invest in your business. And that requires a certain legal structure that they are familiar with and they are comfortable with, because they understand when things get to the legal aspect. For example, if a court case arises, they already understand the laws and how it's going to come out. Now, these companies exist in Africa already, I would say. We have the unicorns, but what I'm noticing is, from the African lens, we're not understanding here what it takes to scale up to a global level.
Yeah.
when you look at those companies and you really delve into their structures, you will see that they have registered in the United States and they have the parent company in the United States that holds their intellectual property, that also holds the money where they raise their funds as well. So they've structured it in a way where now they're global, but they haven't let go of the original company. That company becomes the subsidiary, and then they're operating in a way where they're global now, because you really have to have that headquarter and that legal structure in place so that you can get those type of investments. African startups are not going to be able to scale up to that scale if they do not structure well. And that's all a part of what I've been doing through Visa Immigration Pro. I also have an e-course that I developed specifically to help startups that are non-US startups to understand how to structure their businesses to get these type of US venture capital funds. So that's the biggest bottleneck. The other bottleneck is you need to be there. You can't start raising funds and you can't even get to the US to sign on a dotted line. You can't raise funds from outside of the US if you want US investors. After a while, they're going to want to meet you in person. That shows how serious you are. We're struggling to get over there, and we're not applying for the right visas from this end. So I've been helping startups to also understand, look, this is how immigration is going to play in your business when you're scaling up.
So, I mean, I'm going to dive into that a bit more, but what I want to get is, from your experience, are you saying a business can't go global if it's not registered in the US?
Not saying that. I'm sure there are many examples. What I'm saying is your chances are more likely to go global if you register in the US, get US investors, because they're the ones that's willing to give those hundreds of millions of dollars and bet on you.
Not UK.
UK companies are even going to the US for the same reason, because the way that the US economy is structured and the market, it's a capitalist society. Everyone wants to make money, and so that drives it. UK isn't set up the same way, and the UK does not have the equivalent startup ecosystem that the US has. I'm just saying, if you want to bet and you want to bet well, bet on the US, honestly. All indicators are there that chances are you will go global, you will have the hundreds of millions, and you will be set to go. Yes.
I'm going to take a pause right there. So, I mean, okay, so let's dig a bit deeper, right?
Okay.
Considering a startup, I mean, your experience working with startups from various African countries,
yeah.
What are you finding in the ecosystem right now? Are these startups actually investable for globalization? And what do they need to do?
Right. They're not ready.
Why?
Everyone wants that big exit strategy, right? They want that big exit, but they're not ready. A lot of times I meet startups, they're like, oh, it's too soon. We're not thinking about that yet. But if you're serious, I always tell them, work backwards. Whatever your exit strategy is, you got to work backwards from it. What is it going to take for me to get there? And you have to have it as a goal. From day one, your structure is important. From day one, every legal document, agreement that will be in that data room at the end needs to start. But a lot of African startups just aren't ready.
Maybe they can't just afford it.
Exactly. They can't. But guess what? When you get to that stage and you couldn't afford it in the beginning, you're going to pay maybe 100 times more than what you would have in the beginning. And then you're not going to have a say, because then your investors are going to push you and tell you, use this legal service, or this is how it has to be done. And you have no say. And so that's part of the reason why I made that e-course, so that startups at least first gain the knowledge, so that you can have the education and the understanding of what needs to happen. And then when you're ready, or when you're at the table, at least you have enough knowledge so that you have a say at what happens to your business. The other issue that I find is some startups, they don't understand. Everyone is into the venture capital craze. I'm raising funds,
typically.
everything. It's hype, right? It sounds good, but then at the heart of it, when I talk to them, they don't want to release ownership.
Really?
You need to understand equity, that someone else is going to own your company with you, and your shares will get smaller and smaller and smaller, and you owe them money. You have to give them the results that they want, and they will have the power to push you out eventually. Once they understand that, which I think a lot of them don't, then maybe they'll be willing to bootstrap it instead. So it's about education for me as well.
But don't you think, like, generally, right, the ecosystem, that's the purpose of this podcast, right? The whole idea is to syndicate knowledge to help the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Right? Don't you think it's a thing where a lot of people just want to be able to build comfortably? Like, Africa is quite hard, and they just want that, and let me just raise some money so that I have enough breathing room, not to bootstrap, and then I raise.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with raising capital. I'm just saying you have to be well informed about what comes with it. There's a lot of legal things that come with it. And a lot of people don't know that. We end up seeing companies that raise lots of money, and then all of a sudden, they're winding up. If you dig deep, you'll realize there were loads of legal issues. And then looking at Africa in general, when we're talking about raising capital, financing, and everything, and this is my development background, international development background, we see that a lot of investments and investors are hesitant to invest in Africa because the risk is high for them. They say there are no bankable projects here, and the scale. So they're also looking for projects at scale. A lot of startups are not at scale. And so it's hard for them to find that funding when you're looking at different sources of funding. So
how do you get scale if you don't have funding?
Exactly. That's the major question, and that's the issue. And to be honest, that's a part of something that I really want to champion with my legal practice and with my work in international development, is to really help these investors and these institutions to understand how Africa works, and then to figure out a way where we can actually use the startup ecosystem to support development in Africa. And so that means we have to structure these different financing models in a different way. We do have institutions that will invest still, like African Development Bank or Afro-Exim Bank. They do invest in development type of projects.
But do they do venture?
That's the thing.
I still think they still do debts. They do equity.
So I want to see venture come into it. I really do. I want to see more because Africa is ran on SMEs. That runs all of Africa's economies. The most entrepreneurs are found on the continent in the world. So
someone said, there was an article, I don't know if you saw it. Sorry to interrupt you on that. They said that we have too many, that maybe that's our problem.
I don't think so. Every economy is different. I don't think we have to mold ourselves to look like, the West, where they probably have few, and then we end up having problems like monopoly, right? I think what we can do is explore new and innovative ways to, even if we want to create like some type of collaboratives and stuff where different businesses can come under selling the same
products.
Exactly. We can do that. And that's mostly for like the development of these nations. I would say that we need to start being more innovative. But risk, no matter if it's startups, no matter if it's large infrastructure projects, risk from the West, they feel that the risk is too high. And then in order to bring these startups to the level where they feel comfortable investing in them, it takes too long. So they move on to the next. So you have to be ready. And it's good to be ready in the beginning. And yes, they don't have money to get the legal services a lot of times.
Yeah, so for those who don't have the money to necessarily get the legal services at the bat, right? What are some things that they could do, DIY, that they could do to help them at least say, okay, you know what, at least I'm able to survive?
Yeah. So for me, I always say just break it down into steps.
Okay.
You know, if you know the steps you need to take to get where you want to be, the end goal, then you could break it up and then break up your financing that you will invest into your business. If you're not willing to invest into your business, nobody else will be. So that's part of the reason why I created the e-course, because I realized a lot of startups, to be honest, you know, I'm a business owner too. I remember how it was starting up, and every penny counts. So the e-course is very affordable for that reason, so that you can gain the knowledge and start creating, okay, I'm at this step. This is what I need to do. I do not advise a lot of DIY. I like, for legal stuff, please don't. You will get into so much trouble later. So I've had startups who have come to me like, oh, I've registered a Delaware C Corp by myself. I don't know if it's still active. I've done it, like a year or two ago. Little did they know that now they have penalties and fees that they have to pay because they haven't.
I was about to go into that because
Exactly.
I think last year or some few years back, there was conversation around those who registered in Delaware.
Yeah.
And how they are, what do you call it? Like they were having penalties to pay, taxes to pay, and they were not even aware that they were owing.
Exactly. You're not a lawyer. So when you're in business and you're going to take certain decisions and take certain steps, you absolutely need a lawyer. I always tell people I would say the two most important people you need will always be a lawyer and an accountant, to me personally. You cannot just go and register in the US and you do not understand how US laws work. It's very different from, for example, like in Nigeria. Every state has different laws. Every state has different policies, and you have to adhere to them all.
So is Delaware still the thing?
Delaware is, right? I mean, there are other states coming up like Wyoming, Nevada. They're coming up trying to also create the same things, but Delaware is still the standard.
What makes Delaware like the standard right now? Why do people even go to Delaware?
Because they have a structure in place, especially their court systems, that is very predictable now for investors and for businesses. And they're very friendly to businesses as well. So their legal precedence tends to lean more towards businesses and their decisions. So, and then also they have different tax credits and everything like that. So it's very predictable for investors. So they already know what will happen there. Mm-hmm. But the compliance is a major concern I have for startups who just wake up one day and say, oh, I'm going to register in Delaware. Of course you can. You can register in Delaware from anywhere in the world, because the American system is that simple to start a business, which is great. But the American system compliance is very important. You cannot just let that go by the wayside. You need to understand there's a franchise tax in the state of Delaware. You need to understand that you may be subject to different licenses depending on the type of business that you have. You need to also understand employment law, labor laws. All of that comes to play. All of that is different in each state.
So it's possible that a lot of us that went to go and register our company on a website in Delaware, we are owing now.
You are owing money, and the business, like they probably already wrapped up the business, like it's no longer in existence, but you probably still owe money, because you need to have a registered agent as well that will receive these notices for you. So it's very important to really understand what you're getting into when you say, look, I want to go global one day. It takes work. It's not just building your product. It's also understanding the structure of that business, and that's what I do with Visa Immigration Pro.
How big is the global venture opportunity that Africa is sleeping on from the US?
To be honest, I can't even put it into specific figures that I would say for Africa, but data shows that the US is the hub for startups and venture capital funding, because they invest the most in it. And we've seen so much success from the US. I'm sure everybody can mention successful companies that started off as startups in the US. It's just a part of the culture. It's a part. That's why we have Silicon Valley. That's why we have Y Combinator. And a lot of startups here also, they don't understand that you need the same business structure that I'm talking about in order to get into a US accelerator. They're not going to let you get into that accelerator without this same structure. So even if you're not aspiring to get those investors right now, maybe you're aspiring to get into like Y Combinator or something, you need to have that structure as well. You need to do those things that they will feel confident in allowing you, because guess what? Once you're in their accelerator, they're betting on you that you're going to be successful, and that you're going to get investors,
and that you're going to return their money back.
Exactly, because it's all about that at the end of the day when you have investors.
So, I mean, as part of the investment ecosystem, what are there like key sectors? Are there like key things that these investors are looking out for?
Yeah.
I mean, I know some of these VCs can be even as specific as saying they want an AI product.
Yeah.
What are you seeing currently now in the ecosystem? What are these people looking out for? And how can African startups better position for those?
Yeah, so it's really different, and it depends on the venture capital fund, right? Mm-hmm. What they're looking to invest in. So I see a lot of African startups just randomly contacting VC funds, not really doing your research.
Yeah, I mean, there are all these lists. You just go and start sending on.
Exactly. And that's wrong. You need to be targeted because you're wasting your time and theirs. They have specific type of investments they're interested in. They have specific stages that they're willing to. So it really just takes a little bit of research to understand, because it's all there. Don't waste your time and just go through it. Also, to be honest with everyone, like these blind emails that you send in the US, it may not work. Introductions are very important. Get on LinkedIn and start talking to people, telling them about yourself, see if you can get an introduction, because that's the fastest way to get your foot in the door with US VCs.
Yeah. But have you found in your work across the continent, what has been like some success stories that you've really been proud of?
For me, at this point, everyone I'm working with is fully early stage. Super early stage when it comes to startups. Okay. When it comes to entrepreneurs that I work with and investors, I have success stories. I've helped entrepreneurs expand their businesses into the United States, especially one that I'm very proud of because I've used her products before, is a children's toy and book company right out of here in Nigeria. She's expanded to the US and she's selling her books and her toys on Amazon. And it can be done. That's what I keep telling people, that, especially with the way times are. So
you must not necessarily be a startup. You can be just a business,
an entrepreneur, a business. And she's earning in USD, but the caveat that I always tell everyone, and that's why the immigration aspect is very important. You also need to understand, if you are an entrepreneur and you're expanding your business into the United States, you cannot work in that business. Because if you're on a tourist visa, you cannot work in that business. That is against the immigration regulations for your visa. So I also help them understand how to structure it so that they're not violating any immigration laws based on their visas as well. I help them apply for the right visa if they want to work in their business. For example, the L1 visa would have been an option, and then they can stay there. But different circumstances for different people. They kept their tourist visa, and I've helped them structure it in a way where they are not working in it. They are the owners of that business. I also help a lot of investors. So I work with high net worth individuals who want to invest in the United States. And the EB-5 visa is one avenue that I do that with. So I've had successful EB-5 visa applications where they've invested in large real estate projects across the United States. And so they're able to get their green card, but they're also investing as well. So startups need a lot of work, I've noticed, and they are not ready. And I'm really focusing on a lot of education for them, I've noticed. Those who are ready, they know how to reach out to me, and we take action immediately. But we're still working on getting them through so that they'll be able to approach the investors to start raising funds.
Mm. So, in your experience walking across the continent, Nigeria, Kigali, Kenya, I mean, across board, do you see Nigeria standing out in terms of our quality of startups, or do you see more from other African countries?
I would say I see Nigeria standing out. I would say Nigeria and India stands out really well. And it's not that the product itself is better. I would just say I've noticed that the drive, the action, Nigerians take action very quickly. And other countries sometimes they're a little bit slower to take action. So I would say in that regard, but a company based on if you lay out before me, let's say 5 companies, for me it's not just about the company itself on paper. It's about who's running the company as well, and it's very encouraging to see individuals who are willing to take action. But that doesn't mean the company itself is structured well, because if you lay it all out and it's a mess, if I just see that this is a mess structured legally, it doesn't matter if you're someone who's going to take action.
I mean, you mentioned something earlier, and it was quite interesting. I wouldn't lie, I was quite shocked when I went to the US. And to be sincere, first time I ever went to the US, I was in Iowa. I was in the state of Iowa.
Oh, you went to the wrong place.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think I was happy I did.
Really?
Yes, I was happy I did. I think it gave me a more local feel of the US.
Okay.
Like, I think I got the real substance. I tell people, I say, I think I got the real substance because I got to meet the very white.
Yeah, I was very white.
Very white, But something that stood out for me that you mentioned was the fact that you didn't have so many entrepreneurs, as much as the whole idea of entrepreneurship was not as widely adopted. There are certain big brands that, so when I went to New York, I could see the same brands on shelves, almost like I was in the same. So I'm like, wait, it's like some few companies own this country.
Yeah.
Unlike what you think this is so, but but they've been able to build a very strong capitalist economy, and they've been able to build a good startup structure.
Yeah.
Or should I say ecosystem over there. What do you think is missing within our own ecosystem that can help us replicate? I mean, every day everyone's trying to do the next Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
What do you think is missing from your own experience dealing with investors from over there and over here?
Yeah, for me, what is missing, and this is my government affairs hat, is the policy environment. Like Nigeria, the Nigerian government actually needs to.
Well, we did this Nigerian Startup Act, didn't we?
I mean, I understand, but let's talk about having policies and then implementing them as well. Nigeria is very good at signing on to a lot of stuff, but to do business in Nigeria and do it the right, legal, structured way is difficult. To enter into the United States and let's say you want to invest, to enter into Nigeria from the United States and you want to invest in Nigeria can also be difficult as well. Getting a visa is difficult. Doing your own due diligence is difficult here. The policy environment is not conducive for startup growth at that scale. If we really think about it, every stakeholder, when it comes to helping startups to scale, has so many bottlenecks. The investors have bottlenecks. The startups themselves have so many bottlenecks. The environment is just not conducive policy-wise. I would say we need to develop more. If you come to the United States, you see that they've invested in policies that make it easy to do business. It's easy to register. It's easy to find information. It's easy to get help if you need help. For example, in Georgia, for me, with my business, the state tax, if I didn't respond to a letter on time, they would call me. They call me, and then I can have a conversation with them so that we can discuss the matter and settle it. Whereas in Nigeria, what's the tax structure here? Come on now, so you don't even have the paperwork to show that your business is successful. You have your bank account statement, but then in the way that the US and most of the West works is your paperwork shows your success. It's a credit-based society anyways, but if we had all of these working policies, things would be better, I would say. There's policy, then there's implementation, and that's a whole nother story. Because if we look in the legal, in the laws, we probably have some stuff that's there, not being implemented, it's being ignored, and it's just not making things conducive. If we really want to see growth from businesses in Nigeria, we need to make sure that the policies are there and they're working.
But I mean, there's been a lot of talk around rather stimulating local investment against collecting global USD-based funding.
Yeah.
Now, the challenge has always been because of the volatile FX environment, startups might not be able to return back capital.
Yeah.
To investors in USD. What are your thoughts around that? Because I mean, we're just talking about raising like global money, right?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts around that return? Let me leave it at that because I wanted to comment. I was trying to say a comment, but no, let me let you.
Yeah. So, and this is misinformation, I would say, and it's good to be educated and it's good to learn. If you're going for US venture capital, yes, the return has to be in USD, but that's where the business structure comes in and the legal comes in. You are not going to be, you're raising money in USD. You're not going to only be dependent on the let's say Nigerian company to yield that. There's a way that businesses are structured that aids in USD also being the return. And so that's why from the onset, it's very important to understand how that works. For example, if you register at Delaware C Corp, for example, that will be your that would be the new holding company. That's the company that raises the funds. That's the company where the USD sits. Mm-hmm. And then your Nigerian company is your subsidiary. And this isn't the only structure that exists, Nigerian company is your subsidiary where you probably still hold your main employees there. Your main employees who are doing the work there. The holding company will send funds to the subsidiary to do its work, like cover its operating costs. But the holding company also can get more of the global contracts that will be in USD as well. You're trying to expand your market, so you're not only earning in Naira anymore, where your clientele used to only be Nigerians, right?
So are you saying that if you are going to raise from the US, you shouldn't have an African-only strategy?
I mean, Africa to the world, to me, means exactly that. You're not going to have just an Africa strategy. You need to have a global strategy. And in order to be a global company, you have to understand what that business structure is going to look like, what parts can remain in Africa. And a lot of people I've seen or heard or spoke to, they're saying that it's not an African company anymore.
No, it's still an African company.
Exactly.
Was it made by Africans? Did it originate from Africa?
Exactly.
I mean, that makes an African company.
Exactly. But some people feel because it's registered somewhere else, it's no longer African, or that you're taking it out of Africa. But if they really understood the legal structuring, they would understand that no, it's still true and authentic to how it was created. It's just legally you have to structure it different ways, have to understand.
Yeah, I mean,
taxes.
like the US has stronger IP laws.
Exactly.
And the Patent Office.
Exactly.
Patent and IP Office in the US. I was reading a paper recently on global patents and IPs.
Yeah.
And I was quite impressed on because I exist between the technology and media industry, the whole creative economy space.
Yeah.
And I'm typically always trying to see, because then again, you get more return on your IP if it's registered in the US compared to registering it over here, because then it doesn't hold as much value.
It's risky.
Yeah, it's risky. But if it's registered in the US,
it's protected.
The law is protected by the laws of the US. And then anyone that wants to infringe on it on a global perspective, because then you can now carry that and trade, maybe create toys like you spoke about, you know, and do other forms of businesses and even access the US market.
Yes. And so a lot of people don't understand what happens in the background when it comes to like IP and everything. I have a very close friend, one of my best friends. She works at the US Patent and Trade Office, and they go through the whole trademarks, the applications and everything. The level of scrutiny that happens on every application, trust me, you're protected in the US. And then when you establish that Delaware C Corporation, the IP agreement, meaning that the IP is assigned to that company, it's held there in the US, is protected, and then you license it back to the subsidiary. There's a lot that goes on in the background that a lot of people don't understand. This is why lawyers are here. We're making sure everything is in place. I come across so many African startups, they don't even know that they have intellectual property. Then on top of that, who created your, like your software or anything? Oh, one freelancer like that. Did you have an agreement with them? Oh, no, but it's okay. Then the founders. Okay, so do you have a founders agreement? No, but we understand ourselves. I'm like, today you understand yourselves. Tomorrow when you start fighting, tomorrow that person would say, this is my intellectual property, this is my software, and then they'll start using it as well. Everyone thinks that everything is all fine, and lawyers, we think at the worst. When people start fighting, that's what we think of, because we know you're good today, you're smiling today. Tomorrow, guess what? Business can be cutthroat.
I think entrepreneurs generally, we are very optimistic people. So I think that's one of the things that has made them not want to, like, no, come on now, we are guys now.
Exactly.
But I've built I've built ventures, and I'm building multiple ventures with different partners. Like I'm never really a sole founder. And I found out that those things are needed.
Yes.
Especially because typically when you're young, it feels like, you're not married, there are no kids, you have nothing to your name. There's really nothing to lose.
Yeah.
It's easier.
Yeah.
For you to behave that way.
Yeah.
But when if you understand that your partner is also going to have other complications as they grow older, like they're going to get married, they're going to have kids, their needs will change. So it needs to be clear.
Yes.
Before someone starts getting some wise ideas, and starts saying, so I want to employ my wife as the new, you're like, hey, nigga, what's happening?
Exactly.
So, yeah, I think that's really what happens. But if we really want to have that vision of building like a global business,
right,
those things need to be put into consideration. Now, you keep talking about your ethos. What's your ethos about? Can you expand on it? Because you make reference to it.
Yes. So the e-course is called Legally Ready. A founder's guide to raising U.S. venture capital.
Americans just know how to give names. What's legally ready?
Because you need to be legally ready.
I like the name.
You may be ready in different regards, but you need to be legally ready. A lot of startups don't think about the legal implications to the business that they're doing. So it's an e-course that walks you through the mind of a venture, a VC fund, what an investor would think of, but it also gives you the legal knowledge, and it breaks it down in simple, the digestible terms. I'm not speaking legalese, but you will understand why the Delaware C Corporation. You would understand why the IP agreements are needed and why it needs to be assigned to the Delaware C Corporation. You will understand the need for founders agreements, your cap tables, and how they look at it. So it's really good for you to gain your knowledge. I always say it's more so for those who are beginners who want to understand what it means to go global through the US route.
Who can afford?
I mean, you can afford the e-course.
Yeah,
honestly,
who can't afford a lawyer?
Yes, but then at the same time, once you take it, trust me, you will want to speak to me and have a business strategy session. I wouldn't say that my prices are very expensive. I would say I'm really affordable.
How much is the cost?
For the e-course? It's only $75 for the course with handouts. $65, I believe, without handouts. And it's USD. Yes, it's dollars.
Crystal.
It's not that expensive.
So are you going to give the people on the show
at a discount?
Yes.
Why did I know you would say that? Absolutely, I'm happy to, just because of you. I would happily give it to groups at discounts, which is what I've been doing with different accelerators, incubators, offering group discounts. So if you have a group, just let me know and we can work something
Venture
out.
Valley is a group. So you know what we're going to do?
I see people nodding on the side.
No, because then again, let the audience get value, because I know that they would watch this and they would want value.
Yeah, no, honestly, I'm happy to. That's fine.
Okay, so you're going to find it in the comment section. It's going to give you like a referral code or something.
I have to go make one now. So.
Yeah, go make a referral code with Venture Valley Pod.
Okay.
Yeah, and then that would also help you know how many people came from the channel.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
So, but if, for example, I want to go global, let me use your words, through the American route.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that bias, right? But right now, people are trying to go global through the UAE.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. What do you call it? Gulf GCC routes.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Do you help people with that also?
To be honest, I don't help with that, right? Because I'm a U.S. lawyer, so I'm just barred in the U.S. So I focus on the U.S. And that's my expertise. I fully understand why people are taking the UAE route.
What are you finding as a benefit?
They're just making it more conducive, right? They're challenging the U.S.
They are not giving us 3-month visas.
They're not even trying to give you any. So that's the same thing. Like America, the visa is just as difficult to me personally for Nigerians, but they're making it easy like the U.S. But I keep telling everybody, let's just let history tell you which direction you should go in. Regardless of what's happening in the U.S. right now with the current administration, they're not touching what is affecting capital like that. They're not touching anything with startups and anything. If anything, they want more money to come into the United States. So if you're doing it the right way, the legal way, I don't see any stumbling blocks for you. Even if you're scared of the current administration, it's not going to be there forever, and it's not going to be returning because this is the second term. The U.S. will literally always be the standard for capitalism and making money. And that's why you see, no matter what sector you're in, the Chinese still want to have a piece of the U.S. market with their industries. You see a lot of medical doctors from the UK want to go to the US. Why? Because they make more money. So the US is where the money resides. And just if you're going to bet, I always say bet where, the probability is highest.
Yeah. So, we've spoken a lot about startups, right? But businesses as a whole, you spoke about helping businesses penetrate into like the American market.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit more about that and what opportunities they stand to unlock?
Yeah.
If possible, you could give examples, we don't mind.
Yeah. So, for example, when I'm speaking to a business owner who wants to expand into the U.S. market.
And is it better with products or services? I think I would like.
It really doesn't matter, to be honest, when we're looking at the legal aspect. I always advise my clients first, because everyone comes to me like, oh, I heard Delaware. Now, if you're not a startup and you're not looking to raise investor funds, I tell you to pump the brakes and let's look at different states. So, for example, a state like Texas, where there's no state tax, may be something you're interested in. And I always tell them, choose a state where you have the most ties, because then if something happens down the road, let's say something comes up legally, tax, a lawsuit, you have resources that can help you there. So the client that I had with the children's toys and books decided to register in the state of Georgia because they have a home there. So they visit Georgia quite often. So it makes sense that you can do business there. I'm currently working with clients from the Gambia right now who provide vehicles to the Gambian government. And they want to start, they usually get their vehicles from different countries, like they said, the UAE and some other a country, I can't remember. They want to start getting their vehicles from the United States. So I'm working with them to structure what that US business will look like. And so what right now we're exploring what states to register in. So I usually do a comparative analysis for them. We narrow down a few states and I compare what the registration fees are, what different licenses would be, different procedures, legal aspects that you would need to consider. And that's always the first step because you always have to register first.
So, but do you need to employ people there? Like, and how do I know that I'm ready to go about this process? Like, is there a particular budget range I should see that, okay, when I have 100,000 USD, then I can plan on entering the US? Like, is there like...
It depends on what visa as well you're interested in. So there's the E2 visa that's for investors, not applicable to Nigerians, for example, though unfortunately it's not a treaty country. But I've dealt with business owners from France who wanted to use the E2 visa to enter the United States and start running their business, expand their business into the United States. And so with that one, you do have to have a certain amount of money to invest because of the visa requirements. You have to show substantial amounts of investment. Also with EB5, for example, that's known as the investor visa. Either you're investing in an already established like regional center, or you're going to start your own business. You have to invest 800,000 minimum.
That's EB5?
Yes, okay. EB5, $800,000 minimum, and that's in a targeted employment area. If it's a non-targeted employment area, is $1,050,000. So certain visas have certain investment. Financial. Yes, but if you're doing it out on your own, let's say you have your own company and you just want to expand, let's say you have a tourist visa, you can still use your tourist visa. You can set up your company, but you don't need a particular amount because you're doing it yourself. You just have to make sure you adhere to the immigration regulations for your visa, which for that one, you cannot work under a tourist visa. You can own.
Yeah, B1, B2.
Yeah, you can own, but you can't work. Then the L1, for example, the L1 visa, intra-company transfer. You have your business here in the US and then in Nigeria, and then you want to start in the US. That one, the immigration requirements for that application will require you to show that your business has been successful in Nigeria. We'll have to show a lot of paperwork as well to justify that this is why you want to expand. So the figure can look different. There's not a set figure for that, but just to give you an example, the type of companies that use that visa a lot, Google. So they're structured, and they have a lot of yield for their return. So there are different options. There's the O1 visa as well that you can use to start your business that doesn't have any implications as far as like a requirement for a certain amount, but you do have to show extraordinary ability, that you've been recognized in your field. So many different options exist, but it depends on which route you want to go. And when I have consultations with clients, we discuss all of this.
You try to know what their context is.
Yes.
But do you find it that would you encourage, especially looking at the current realities where like everyone wants to earn in FX, everyone is looking for a way to bring in that green, and all. How would you encourage African businesses to begin thinking about these things in terms of being ready for global? So now we're not talking about startups,
Yeah.
right? African businesses.
You have to understand what comes with it. So if you want to start earning in USD and you want to expand your business into the United States, you need to understand the compliance side of it. What taxes are going to be in place? What legal aspects, like maintaining your registration, how much that's going to cost? Because it's not like doing business in Nigeria where no one is really on your neck about certain things. In the US, they're going to get their money from you. You have to file taxes. IRS will figure you out eventually, you know? So before even doing that, just having a consultation to understand what is required for me to actually move this business to the US, what's going to be my running costs, because compliance is a part of it. So that will help you understand what scale as well to enter into the US market.
I mean, so recently I came across a conversation around buying dying businesses in the US, how there's a whole opportunity around businesses that are like the baby boomers that are retiring, trying to let go of these businesses.
Yeah.
Have you been like, what are you thinking about those opportunities? How can Africans take advantage of those kind of opportunities?
So the best way to take advantage of that type of opportunities, because if you're not going to be in the US running that business, I highly don't recommend buying anything. You know, my husband always says the first rule of business is minding your business. So if you are not there, it's not going to work. But if you can get into a partnership where we establish an entity, for example, a business entity that will buy that business from the baby boomer, then your partner who's on ground can also be the one running the business. I think that would be a structure that we can explore. As a lawyer, I always have to give a caveat that this is and a disclaimer that I am not giving anyone
Legal
any
advice.
legal advice. So please, you have to engage me for me to be your lawyer. This is not legal advice, okay? So that can be a structure to explore. So if you know, for example, you have money and you want to invest, and you're like, I want to buy a business in the US that's already existing, you can get a partner that you know that's in the US and buy that business and figure out how you guys are going to structure it and run. So just like with startups, there's founder agreements. With partnerships, there are partnerships agreements as well. That's very important. So doing the legal legwork so that you can be successful is very important, because in the US, I always tell my US business clients, once you know you're successful in the US once you get sued. Once you get sued by somebody, welcome to the club of success. So in the US, litigation, being sued is very common. You have to be prepared for that as well. And that's why it's so important to have your legal documents in place. Yeah. It's no game. That's why I tell people you have to be ready. Entering the market, you have to understand it, because that lawsuit can come. And that's why you structure your business in a way where they won't take your personal assets. It's very important. Are you reconsidering your venture to go and buy a business?
No, I mean, it was my friend, but
was your friend?
Now I'm not sold again. Now I'm not sold again.
No, so the thing is to be prepared. Like once, and that's why I tell people lawyers will definitely help you. We're not out to just get your money. Like we're actually protecting you. And a lot of people don't understand, if you engage a lawyer sooner, it's cheaper for you. But if you get into mess and engage us at the mess, the prices are sky high because there's a lot to do. So we can preempt mess, early on if we're engaged. Yeah.
Well,
penny wise, pound foolish.
Well, Crystal, I mean, it's been a very interesting past hour. I mean, discussing with you, I think it's endless what we can actually dive into. But if I'm a startup watching this episode and I'm looking to engage you, how do I work with you? Like, where do I catch you?
So my website is visaimmigrationpro.com. That's where you also can find the e-course there. You can also schedule a consultation with me there. I'm all over social media. Visa Immigration Pro. We have our Instagram. We have a TikTok. We have a YouTube channel as well. So you guys can go ahead and like and subscribe. I make videos to educate people. And then, yeah, I think those are the ways. Our email address, info.
Do you have any programs that can benefit startups that
any programs?
Yeah.
Legally Ready. That's my
the course,
whole,
okay.
That's the course.
That you're gonna give us a discount on.
Exactly, Legally Ready. And then from that course, we offer business strategy sessions as well after the course. There is a fee for that, but that's like mainly for startups. I do have a course in the works that's going to be for entrepreneurs who want to expand their business into the United States. That's in the works as well. So I'll let you guys know when that drops. And if I need to offer another discount, I will.
Well, I mean, you're welcome to the Venture Valley community. We always try to create value. I mean, we don't want it for free, but we also just want you to give us come
I
on.
understand bootstrapping. It's not easy starting a business.
Yeah, exactly. Like, especially in Africa,
Yeah, I get it.
It's quite hard. It's quite hard. Yeah. But are you currently working with any accelerators, programs, any of them that you could talk about?
Not as a formal partnership, no, but I am working with a few of them where we're discussing some partnerships, how we can collaborate. So embedding the course into some of their programs that they have. So I'm very open to that. I'm open to discussing and collaborating and partnerships. So whoever's listening, reach out to me.
All right. I mean, it was very interesting speaking to you, Crystal, and I look forward to working with you. I mean, in other things beyond even this podcast. Thank you so much for coming.
Too. Thank you for having me.
All right. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thank you guys for watching. I mean, I'm sure you really enjoyed this episode. And if you made it till now, I want to let you know that we are happy that you actually do trust our content and you enjoy this episode. But the best thing you can do for us is like, share, comment, and if you're not subscribed, subscribe. Like I said, when you subscribe, when you like, when you comment, when you share this with people, it helps the channel grow. And then it also affects how much of quality guests we can actually bring on the channel. The more you support us, the more the platform grows. And the more the platform grows, the more the quality of the content on the platform grows too. Thank you for joining us and thank you for supporting us. Look forward to catching you in the next episode.